What's going on, everybody? This is Sai from Forge Physio. Today we're going over the dead bug. So we're gonna go to our back. All right, so from your back position, what I want you to think about is your knees are bent. You're gonna push your low back into the ground. And then from there, I want your hands to go directly above your shoulders. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring one leg up to where my right knee is directly above my hip. Keeping my low back tucked, I'm gonna bring my left knee to where it's directly above my left hip. Now, in this position, you'd be surprised how many people have a hard time keeping their low back pressed into the ground. A lot of people can't even feel it. So if you're somebody who can't feel that, put your feet back on the ground, arch your low back as much as possible, meaning get as much space under there as possible, and then push your low back down into your hand or into the ground to take away that space. That's what we call a posterior pelvic tilt. We want your low back pressed into the ground when you're doing this dead bug. So again, bring my right knee up, bring my left knee up. Okay, now, if you can hold your low back onto the ground, the second compensation that we see is people will really suck their belly button down, like they're kind of trying to do like a crunch. For this version of a dead bug, we want you to push your belly button toward the ceiling, like you were trying to take up space on a belt, and be able to hold and maintain that position and talk. If you can't talk, you're bearing down, and that's the wrong bracing pattern. Now from here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go heel tap, or slight arm movement, slight arm movement. Then we can sync it up to where arms and legs start to go. And the reason that we're doing partial range of motion is you have to be able to maintain that belly button toward the ceiling and low back into the ground. If your form starts to break, then we need to regress back to the position where you have the best form. And then eventually we want to be able to get all the way into this straight arm, straight leg position without arching my low back or without losing the bracing in my abdomen. And then the other piece is if you're someone who gets a lot of like snapping, people will get a lot of hip cracking when they go to do this. They straighten the leg out and they think there's like a massive crack that's happening. Those are typically hip flexors sliding over each other. Come back, redo your setup, get your bracing correctly with the low back end on the ground, abdomen toward the ceiling, and then only limit your range of motion as far as you can go without having any sort of hip cracking. So if that looks like doing just a heel tap, but your arm goes all the way straight, that's perfectly fine. We want to be able to maintain the right technique without any sort of compensations happening. And if you're feeling that popping sensation through the hip, that's typically a compensation.